I'm Jake.
I'm Colin.
You're watching Gas Guzzlers.
And this is the Volvo S60 Recharge Ultimate.
Let's get into it.
After reviewing so many electric cars, it is great to finally have a good old-fashioned gas vehicle again.
Actually, Colin, this is an electric car. It's got an electric port right here.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, actually, it does because this is a hybrid.
Well, the Prius doesn't have 2 ports.
Well, that's because the Prius is a mild hybrid system. You see, that just doesn't have an electric port because it doesn't have that big of a battery. It only does a small amount of driving on electric power. However, this vehicle, the S60, is a plug-in hybrid or PHEV. What that means is this vehicle has a bigger battery than the Prius. It's about 18 kilowatts. And so that means this vehicle can drive under pure electric power for a pretty far distance. The idea is you can do your normal daily commute on pure electric power, but then you have the gasoline motor there to act as a range extender in the event you want to go further than the about 40 miles of electric range the S60 Recharge has.
That makes sense. This thing definitely drives better than your normal mild hybrid. So what do you say we get this thing out on the road?
Not yet. We have a special surprise for the road test. It's really good, but he's not ready quite yet. So you know what? For now, let's just talk about the interior.
Wait, what do you mean he?
The interior of the S60 is really just a delightful space. The craftsmanship in here and the material choices are exactly what we would expect from Volvo. For example, how about this metal mesh material up here on the dash? It's very mature yet still visually interesting. I really do like that. One thing I'm not as big of a fan of is the crystal shifter. It looks like a cloudy piece of dishware with the handprints on it and stuff. I would stay away from it, but I appreciate the unique aesthetic. One other unique aesthetic I appreciate in here, how about the Harman Kardon audio system? Not only does it produce a high fidelity sound, but it also is very visually interesting and very artfully done. I really like that. I also just like the small little thoughtful interior details here, like for example, this little ticket holder up here on the windshield. These black charcoal Napa leather seats are part of the Black Edition package on this S60. Now, the material feels to be of exceptional quality. They're very supportive, they're heated, they're cooled, they have memory function. So what's there to complain about? Well, it comes down to the comfort. You see, there are a bunch of different ways to adjust these seats, and I find it really hard to get comfortable. Something about the thigh bolster just doesn't work for me. Colin's also found it hard to get comfortable in here, and I still have not found how to make these seats work for me. Now, with enough fiddling, I'm sure eventually you would get it, but I just find it difficult to find that sweet spot in these, but maybe your body shape is different than mine and you'll have an easier time. Before I pass it back to Colin to talk about the comfort in the rear of the S60, I want to just give you an example of the craftsmanship in this vehicle, and that comes down to the air vents. Now, the air vents have a very crisp, tactile feel, so I want to demonstrate them to you in the first episode of Gas Guzzlers ASMR. Here we go. The switchgear in this vehicle just has such a crisp, clicky feel to it. You paid $63,000 for this car, and it's important that high touch point areas like the air vents make you feel like you paid that amount of money.
The rear of the S60 is a pretty solid seating area. Of course, you have a good amount of leg room. These chairs are a little further back than me and Jake would normally sit, but of course you still have a lot of leg room here. You also have vents back here that is a must-have, and one nice thing is they're placed a little higher. What this means is they actually do a good job cooling you off than the ones people just place down here. Speaking of this area, you might see this massive bump. This is an all-wheel drive vehicle, so it is almost impossible to fit anyone back in this middle seat. So this is really going to be just a 4-seater vehicle. You do have the fold-down center console here, and you might notice there's no cup holders up top. That's because you have a little pop out here. You push this, these pops out, and you have these cup holders. Now, this design is a little bad because if you have a smaller bottle, it's gonna fit a little more loose than a full-size bottle would. Now, you do have heated seats back here. Those are part of the $750 climate package.
This interior is extra jazzed up as this Volvo S60 comes with the Ultimate package. Most of the Ultimate package upgrades come in the interior. Here we have an air purifier which shows you what particular toxins the car has detected and has removed from your environment. This is particularly useful if you live on the East Coast where we have been dealing with Canadian wildfires. That isn't the only quirky feature added by the Ultimate package. This package also adds power-operated rear headrests. In fact, the seats get lots of upgrades. They also get power adjustment and power cushion extensions. The general cabin also gets some upgrades like a special dashboard and high-level illumination, meaning the map lights are about as bright as the sun.
So Jake, is it finally time for our drive-in surprise?
I'm glad you asked, Colin. Indeed, it is. I'm proud to introduce a new segment for Gas Guzzlers. It is completely original and has never been done before. It's called Historical Star in a Luxury Car, the show where we bring on a historical figure to talk about the cars we are reviewing.
All right, I dig the idea, but who'd we get?
I'm glad you asked. We have a very special guest. You see, I figure we have a Volvo from Sweden, so whatever celebrity we get must be from the land of IKEA and meatballs, and that's exactly what we've got. Ladies and gentlemen, the father of taxonomic nomenclature, Swedish botanist, Carl Linneaus! I did! Mr. Linneaus is quite literally the inventor of taxonomic nomenclature, the system used to categorize the entire biological world.
Jake, no one's gonna want to blog posts.
He's here already. It'd be rude to ask him to leave. Do it. He's confused. He was born 1707. He's never seen a car before. It's a lot for him. So he's supposed to review one? Yeah, it's a French perspective. Yes, Mr. Linneaus here. Colin's gonna help you get in the car.
Get in the car. There you go.
Yeah, he likes it. Does he? He likes it. Let's get on the road.
Mr. Linneaus, it is an absolute privilege to host you here today. Thank you so much for joining us. I gotta ask, what are your thoughts on the Volvo S60?
This has such a smooth ride, and it's amazing how it can keep its composure over these twists, turns, and bumps. The acceleration is amazing too. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And I'm assuming there must be some tiny animals in there making it go.
No.
Which is amazing because there's no smell of excrement here.
That is amazing. There are no tiny animals up there actually. There's something called a motor. So that motor is producing 312 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. You combine that with the electric motor in this vehicle and now you're getting 455 horsepower and 523 pound-feet of torque. It is a wonderful powertrain. It actually feels a lot faster than those numbers imply because that electric powertrain gives you an instantaneous boost, and it does all that while giving you 31 mpg. I love the powertrain in this vehicle. It is certainly a high point. I am a big fan of it.
So the tiny horses in there, there's hundreds of them, but they make this nice, calm noise.
Yeah, so there's no horses, no tiny horses, motor. But the noise, you are right, does sound really, really good. For a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, the noise is absolutely superb, and that noise can actually be changed via the drive mode. So let's talk about those drive modes just a little more. The Volvo S60 Recharge is one of those cars where the drive modes dramatically change the characteristics of the vehicle. Most folks will probably keep the car in hybrid mode. This is a mild-mannered drive mode where the S60 feels a lot like any other mid-level luxury sedan. But after that, things start to get interesting. Pure mode, it's going to prioritize your electric powertrain, but if you aren't concerned about mileage, then power mode is where you're going to want to be. This mode is where the engine sound really comes through and the driving experience is simply delightful. More on that in just a bit. Finally, there is constant all-wheel drive for those snowy and rainy days where a bit more traction will come in handy. If I had a complaint about the drive modes, it would be that they are not easily accessible. You need to click through several software menus to reach the drive mode selector. It would be a lot nicer to have an easy to reach physical dial or button here. All right, well, Mr. Linneaus, I do want to talk a little bit more about driving composure and feel and all that, so I think it's time to bring Colin up here to the front. But folks, please give it up for Mr. Linneaus. You have been a great host here. Let us know what you think about this new segment, Historical Star in a Luxury Car.
Jake, what are we gonna do with Mr. Linneaus? He's from the 1700s, is he not?
He is, but we'll figure something out. Behind the wheel of the S60, I gotta say, I was expecting the great infotainment screen, I was expecting a nice interior, but I was not expecting this car to be so fun to drive. It really is just a joy to take around town.
Yeah, I have to say, Mr. Linneaus really picked up on what I think this car's best aspect is, its handling. I mean, it's just so smooth through the corners, even over these bumps, especially in the rain. We've had a lot of rain here the past couple of days, and it's handled it wonderfully.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. Now, Volvo clearly did a great job with the suspension and such on this vehicle, but I just gotta go back to that powertrain. They picked the exact right amount of power for this vehicle, and it feels quicker than it is because you have that hybrid power plant. I think just really hats off to Volvo on this driving experience.
Yeah, but I know there's one thing we don't like, and that's the steering.
Yeah, I had a feeling you were gonna bring that up. The steering in here is very light, isn't it?
Yeah, and we should clarify what we mean. When we say we don't like the steering, we mean it's just super light. Even if you put it in the more performance-oriented power mode, the steering's still a little too light for our preference. I know we both prefer heavier steering, but I think, like I said, it just comes down to preference.
So, we're not a big fan of the steering, but Colin, one great feature of this driving experience is the regen experience.
This car has regen?
Yep, because we have that big 18 kilowatt hour battery pack, this car makes use of regen, so it slows you down and recoups that energy to charge the battery. Energy that's normally wasted as heat energy on brake pads gets turned into electricity to keep you moving forwards, just like in a pure electric car. Now, the way they've implemented it is brilliant. You see, you simply take your shifter here and you can pull it back while driving to enter B mode, and that B mode will activate the regen braking. So then when you take your foot off the pedal, the car's gonna actually brake, but it's not really braking, it's regenerating energy, but the effect feels like braking. Then as you're moving, you can change the strength of the regen by moving the shifter left or right. It's a really smart feature.
I have to say, it's especially great because in a lot of vehicles like this, they just don't put that in. A lot of other brands won't have this regen like Volvo does.
Yeah, and I think it's important to clarify like what Colin means when he says that is you have to go in a software menu or something. They don't have it easily accessible. Now, Colin, I want to talk about drive modes. Well, drive modes isn't the right word. We've already discussed those, but there's a separate menu where you can change how the battery and the motor and the engine all work together, right?
Yeah, so this car has a lot of impressive drive-in tech. You can just drive on pure electric, and that gets you about 40 miles of just pure electric range. You can also switch it to just use the gas motor and charge the electric battery while doing so, or you can even just drive it as your traditional hybrid.
Yeah, so you have those three modes, that auto, that pure, and charge mode. Geez, there is an impressive amount of tech in this car.
There definitely is, but before we hit the highway a little later, let's pull over and look around the exterior of the vehicle.
Let's do it.
I really like the exterior look of the S60. I think Volvo did a fantastic job of mixing both straight lines and curves. It's just a real mature look.
I have to say, the best thing about the front here is the Thor's Hammer headlights. And these are turn-in too, so when you take a turn, the lights will turn to keep the road illuminated ahead of you.
I will say that swiveling function is a lot more exaggerated here on the Volvo than it is on a lot of other vehicles, and it really is helpful when you're driving on twisty roads at night. But even cooler than the swiveling headlights, these headlights have a self-cleaning function. That's part of the $750 climate package, and in here, in this little area, there is a pressure washer that comes out of the vehicle, sprays a bunch of washer fluid onto your headlight and keeps it clean. That is a really cool feature.
Of course, you're going to also notice the black accents up here, especially that black badge. That's a part of the black edition of this vehicle. Let's move to the side and we'll see a little bit more of that. Moving on to the side of the S60, you're going to see these 19-inch diamond cut alloy wheels that are part of that black edition package.
Yeah, and also part of the black edition package, you get metallic paint.
So wait, the black edition package comes with white paint?
Well, no, it comes with metallic paint. It just so happens that this is white metallic paint.
Ah. Anyway, some other cool features you're gonna get here are the power child locks and these power folding mirrors.
Yeah, power child locks are not a cool feature. Twice now, I have locked myself on accident in the rear of a vehicle while reviewing it because it had power child locks and I accidentally activated them while up front and locked myself in the back.
Jake, I think that's just a you problem.
No, it's not. It's a very real problem that dozens of us face every year.
Nope, definitely just a you problem.
All right. Well, you know what? Let's put that aside because we gotta talk about the charge port. And here you will find the plug that puts the plug-in hybrid.
So this vehicle doesn't have fast charging, right?
Astute observation, Colin. So you can't use the level 3 fast chargers that you see out and about. This is going to use at max level 2 charging. So at level 1 charge, basically just plugging this into a normal 110 volt house outlet, it's going to take about 8 hours to charge. Now you plug it into a level 2 charger, that's probably what your workplace has for free. They have it for free at a lot of supermarkets. You might get one installed in your own home to 20 volts. It's going to take about 5 hours to charge, so a little bit quicker, but for a lot of people, they'll probably just plug this into a normal outlet at home and get their 40 miles of range for their normal commute each day.
Fun fact, did you know Volvo means I roll? Subscribe for more awesome car facts from Gas Guzzler Reviews. Let's get back into it.
The rear of the S60 might just be my favorite angle of it, especially with these dramatic LED taillights back here. I think it's a real good looker. However, I'm assuming that we're not back here to talk about looks, we're here to talk about trunk space.
Absolutely. Of course, you can pop this trunk on the key. Now this trunk doesn't have power. It's a little disappointing, but that's not to be expected around this price point. Of course, you have 11.6 cubic feet of storage space back here, but the best part, Jake, if you'll just take a look back there.
Does it? Oh, it has what I think it has.
This vehicle has a ski pass-through.
Yeah, I love ski pass-throughs because in a vehicle with a 60-40 split, you have to give up a full-size seat in order to get a clear line of sight through the middle of the vehicle and to fit something long in there, i.e. skis, piece of lumber, whatever. But with a ski pass-through, you only give up your tiny, useless middle seat, so you get to keep your 2 full-size seats.
That's not all. You also have a 12-volt cigarette lighter type outlet back here. That's very common to see on your SUVs, but on a sedan like this, that's pretty rare.
They do a pretty good job with the trunk and usability in this vehicle. Let's keep moving.
All right, Colin, it's time to talk about the S60's best feature, and that's going to be the infotainment system. First of all, big fan of the vertical layout. That's how phones have been for a long time, and there's a reason. This is an extremely intuitive layout. Big fan of that. Also, like a phone, this has Google services directly built into the vehicle. Google Assistant and Play Store are the 2 notable ones. You go to the Play Store, if you want Spotify integrated directly into your infotainment system, you can have that here. You can do that too with EV charging apps. Very useful feature. Also, if we come back, we have Google Assistant, which is by far and away the best voice assistant in a vehicle that you can get. It will do just about anything that Google Assistant on a normal Android phone would do for you. Love that feature. However, there are some things we don't love so much about the system. Colin, what are those?
Yeah, so let's start with the cameras. I don't think this is a bad camera suite, but it's a little basic. This is what they call their 360 view, and it's not like others where you can scroll and move around the vehicle. Instead, you have to tap these icons to see different parts. And you see the backup camera here is a little weird. It's not too bad. That's the real theme with this system. None of these camera angles are bad per se, but you've definitely seen better on vehicles. The climate controls are also a little weird. They once again integrated it into the screen. Personally, I don't like that. It can make them kind of hard to access while driving. I think they did a good job at mitigating that by making it a separate button. So if I go back to the home screen here, you see right at the bottom, you can click on this. Now we did have one weird occurrence where it just wouldn't turn on. This screen would come up, but it wouldn't let me click between any options. So if I tried to click max, it just wouldn't change. But other than that, it's worked very well.
Yeah, and you know what, that's kind of, at least this is easy to access, but something that's not easy to access is the drive mode. So to get to the drive modes, you start in your home menu right here. You have to click this gear off in the bottom corner, and then you have to hit driving right here, and now you have your drive modes and your battery usage meter. Going through 2 software menus to get here is not great. This ideally should either be physical or in the first layer of the software menu, because this is something you actually end up interacting with quite a bit in the vehicle. There's a reason every other vehicle has these buttons, just physical or in the first layer of the software menu. Not a big fan of that. But one thing I am a big fan of is Apple CarPlay in this vehicle. Now, in most vertically oriented displays, you will find that when you hit Apple CarPlay, the automaker just cuts the screen in half, puts Apple CarPlay in a normal 16:9 resolution on the top, and they have their native infotainment system running in a 16:9 format in the bottom. That is not the case here. Watch this. I hit Apple CarPlay. It takes full advantage of that vertical orientation and fills the entire screen. This is the best implementation of Apple CarPlay I have ever seen. Look how good this is. You have an app drawer right at the bottom. I mean, this looks like an iPad. They really nailed this part of the vehicle. I'm a big fan of this infotainment system.
Here you will find the Volvo S60's gauge cluster. It's a real sharp display. They chose a really high quality screen to use here, and I'm a little confused because I feel like they didn't utilize this this great screen to its maximum effect. In the center, you'll just see there's inky blackness. I wish they would put some sort of visualization there, either showing what the hybrid system is doing or some other piece of information. Now, you can put a map up there pretty easily, and as you can see, it is that crisp, fresh, clear UI that we have come to expect from Google. But you can also bring up a trip computer. Otherwise, it'd be nice to see some other kind of fun Easter egg function to throw in there. But overall, great screen choice and crisp design by Volvo.
Colin, we are here on the highway, and I gotta say, this S60 powertrain, it works great on the back roads and it works great on the highway too. Something I want to mention is that this car does have a kickdown pedal. So when you accelerate on the highway, you'll feel that when you push the pedal down, there's a point of resistance. Keep pushing, pushing, pushing. You'll feel a click. That means you have activated the kickdown pedal. The car is going to give you all the power that it has, and you are going to go zooming off. Mazdas have a similar feature. Just if you feel that point of resistance, that's what that is. So how's the road noise in here?
I have to say, I know we've had some disagreements about how we think about it, and I think the conclusion we finally came to is you hear a good amount of tire noise, but the wind noise isn't bad and engine noise isn't bad. And with that engine noise, sometimes it can even be hard to tell. You know, are you in full electric? Are you in gas? I remember yesterday we even had to roll down the window to tell. But Jake, why don't you tell them a little bit about some of the safety features and self-driving tech?
Yeah, so on this Ultimate Edition, we do have the Pilot Assist. It's a pretty standard system, right? It's going to use your radar cruise control, and it's going to add in steering assist. It's going to keep you between the lines and keep the vehicle centered in the lane. It's a pretty standard hands-on semi-autonomous system. Some other features you'll notice when you're on the highway is that this vehicle has pretty aggressive lane keeping. So if you don't have the cruise control on and you start to drift out of your lane, this S60 is pretty aggressive about pushing you back in your lane, but I haven't found it to be over aggressive and it hasn't put me in a dangerous situation yet. So it's overall a very pleasant highway driving experience.
Well, Jake, I guess that's it for this video.
No, wait. There's one final challenge. Colin, try remote start this vehicle.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be easy. I'll probably just take the key here, and Jake, there's no remote start button.
That'd be correct. There is no remote start button on the key fob of this S60. Instead, you need to go to your local Volvo authorized dealer and get a key fob with remote start.
Are you sure, Jake? This one has this little play button right here.
No. Don't hit the play button. That is the panic button. It looks like a play button given the angle they have it at and the fact that it is not colored red. So I thought, or may have thought, hey, this looks a lot like a play button. It might be the remote start button. I pressed it and yeah, it's the panic button. It just set off the car alarm.
Yeah, I can really see that. If you're not holding this at the right angle, that looks smack like a play button. They should really like paint it red or something.
Yep, agreed. And on a $60,000 car, really, you should have a key fob button that remote starts it. You can remote start this car through the app with Volvo Connected Services, which you get for 4 years with your purchase of an S60 Recharge. I really like this car. We've had a lot of fun with the S60. It's a good looking vehicle. It has an amazing powertrain. It's great to drive. It's got a solid interior. It's got that weird quirk with the key where you can't remote start from the fob without the app. Yeah. But other than that, I really like this. Colin, what are your thoughts?
I have to say, this is a great vehicle. I know Jake just mentioned it's great to drive. The interior is wonderful. That infotainment screen is second to none. I mean, you can use it in either CarPlay or Volvo standard format and you're still getting an absolutely incredible layout. I do think there are some issues. I think they could stand to move some of the stuff off that screen, especially drive modes. I know that was the first thing I was trying to change, and I actually had to Google it the first time I drove this car because I couldn't find out how to change them. I think they should definitely consider like a knob or a button, something physical that is easy to find. That being said, this is an incredible car, and for just over $63,000, you're getting a great value. Of course, this has been Gas Guzzlers. I've been Colin, that's been Jake, and if you like weekly automotive content, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.